So I'm here today because I believe it's time for us to rethink leadership and reconnect with nature. And in order to demonstrate how and why, I'd like to invite you on a little journey with me. I'd like to invite you on a journey, an imaginary journey through the 4 seasons, with an open mind and a sense of connectedness, with the person you're sitting next to and the people in this room, the environment you're part of right now. So I'd like you to close your eyes and then take a deep breath and breathe out. And feel how the air you're breathing is seeping in to every little cell in your body. Feel the energy of spring, when new life emerges and little green seeds are starting to show in the soil beneath your feet. It's still a little cold outside, but the sun is shining, and you can hear the birds singing in the morning. The air is full of new life and new potential. Then take another deep breath. And move ahead to the energy of summer. And feel the pulsing energy in every field, in every forest. Sense how all the animals and insects are communicating with one another. Feel how the sun is warming your skin and your whole body. And have a look at all the beautiful flowers in a nice, balanced harmony. Use all your senses. Hear, see, feel, even taste the summer. And now keep your eyes closed and move ahead to autumn. The flowers are losing their vitality, and the colors are shifting to different shades of warm yellow, red, and brown. And fields are being harvested, and you see all the animals collecting food supplies for winter. Connect with the energy of autumn, the energy of immersion and reflection. And then finally move ahead to winter and see all the trees stand bare and vulnerable next to one another. Nature is slowing down. Life has withdrawn. And all the leaves are lying on the ground in order to become nourishment for the trees in the same big ecosystem. Now you can open your eyes again, and I bet you can easily imagine another spring, summer, autumn, and winter starting all over again in the same life-affirming rhythm as it has done for hundreds and thousands of years. But imagine what it would be like if you were to transfer these 4 seasons of nature to your working life. Imagine how the energy of spring resonates with time for change, when you seek new knowledge and you read and you learn and new ideas are appearing. You start sowing little seeds, prepare for growth, and then move along to summertime, the energy of summer, when you're standing in the spotlight, flourishing, and solving the tasks that you've prepared for, and maybe starting new ideas in cooperation with others. And then continue to autumn. Time for immersion. Time for reflection. And when you reflect on tasks that you've solved, and you adapt and adjust, and then move ahead to wintertime. Time for a break, when you close down your computer and you just do nothing, or you spend time with friends or family, or whatever makes you relax, rest, and regenerate. See, that's how our working life should be, but we're not quite there yet. Most of us are used to working at a continuously high pace, as if we were to develop new projects and deliver and perform constantly. Somehow we keep convincing ourselves that it's important, but we forget that no one could or should keep up the speed and energy of spring and summer without taking the time to reflect and let go of what doesn't serve us anymore. We forget to take the time to rest and regenerate. and dive into the energy of autumn. And we keep working ourselves harder and harder. And what might just seem like a little task for us to solve at work can become far more complicated than that. And sometimes, due to all sorts of different circumstances that we have no influence on at all. Could be due to political agendas or societal or economic reasons. But we simply forget our natural rhythm. And we cannot and we should not control everything. Instead, we should remember to use our senses and adjust in order to internal or external circumstances. When we're not conscious of this, sometimes we might just end up getting ill with stress. And you might think that we're experts in work-life balance in Denmark, and that we have this flat structure where it's possible for us to just, have this flat structure where we encourage cooperative and innovative culture. But the truth is that even though we might focus a lot more on this here in Denmark than a lot of other countries do, we still have a lot to learn. According to the latest report from Economic Council of Labour Movement, more than 1 out of 10 people have work-related stress. And on an organizational level, stress just in Denmark costs society 55 billion Danish kroner every single year. So we must run faster and faster just to stand still. We've built these bureaucratic, hierarchical organizations based on a mechanical mindset. Stress and the lack of inner sustainability are not just about personal leadership. It's a structural problem. So we can either continue down this rabbit hole, or we could maybe start to rethink leadership. So we could unlearn what we've been trained to do for several generations, and we could start relearning how our ancestors used to live connected with nature and connected with people around them. So instead of considering each other as competitors, we should start considering each other as co-workers and co-leaders. So instead of working for our ego-centered goals, we should work for common goals bigger than ourselves. And we should think much more about next generations to come. Otherwise, we'll just continue our personal, organizational, and environmental detour, and even more of us will end up being part of the sad statistics of stress. I'm already part of those statistics, and I bet a lot of you in the audience are too. I've been ill with stress twice, and I could have been 3 times, so apparently I'm not a very fast learner when it comes to that. I'm the mother of 5 children, 2 sets of twins, and 1 singleton. And until very recently, I was also a dedicated leader of a non-profit volunteer organization, and as well as having my own company and doing volunteer work on the side, and all of which I love and find really meaningful. And together with my board and dedicated others, I had this vision of establishing a social cafe for volunteer communities and for people in vulnerable situations, a place where everybody could co-work and co-create across different ages, cultures, religions, and social backgrounds. A place where everybody could feel welcome and where people could create, strengthen their social network and empower each other. And I was working with the speed of summer, and in my eagerness to reach this goal of creating the cafe, I totally forgot to stop, sense, and adjust my strategy. So some important people from an external organization, which our project was dependent on, they had a different agenda. And they just seemed to ignore all our messages and our invitations to dialogue. And they prolonged decisions that could affect our project. And they overruled documents already signed and didn't really show any interest in this social volunteer work, which was the main purpose of our organization. So, despite all this, we just kept working harder and harder to reach this goal. We simply forgot to stop and reflect. And I totally dismissed the power of these decision makers. I didn't realize that I'd been running too fast for too long, until one night I was driving with my 4 daughters, and all of a sudden, out of nowhere, I saw a car coming. I saw this car coming from a side road, and the only thing I could do was to shout, "He's not going to stop!" And I couldn't avoid a collision. So I ended up driving straight into the side of this car. And for a split second, I thought this was going to be our last moment together. I thought we were going to leave my son and my husband, the father of all 5 children, behind. I was in shock. We were all in shock. And the driver of the other car, he just disappeared. He left his car in the middle of the road, and the police never found him. And then you might think that I would consider him the bad guy, the villain who caused an accident that could have been fatal for my family. But I could also decide to look at it from a different perspective. I could consider him like an angel sent from heaven, giving me a wake-up call, asking me to hit the brakes, not just on the road, but metaphorically speaking, in my working life and in my life in general. Reminding me to use my senses and stop and reflect, ask myself, is it time to let go of something? To make space for other meaningful things, like spending more time with my family, or co-creating with people who actually had the same purpose as I did, instead of struggling with powerful decision makers with different agendas. A few days after the accident, I decided to quit my job as a leader of the organization. Finally, I had learned my lesson. I realized I'd been neglecting some of the most important leadership skills of all for too long. The accident reminded me how important it is to prioritize these 4 seasons in working life and save time for reflection and regeneration, not only for myself, but also for co-workers and employees, so we won't end up being just another part of the sad statistics of stress. And I also learned that even though you have a well-argued and meaningful project, you still need the right people and the right conditions to reach your goal, just like the flowers need the sun and the rain to grow. So it doesn't serve anyone trying to create projects, co-create projects with people who consider you or your organization as competitors. So if you can't work for a common goal bigger than yourselves, then it might just be time for you to let go of the project or the relations, like the trees let go of the dead leaves during autumn to make space for new little leaves to emerge during spring. So if we want to practice regenerative leadership, we must learn to follow our natural rhythm, and we should focus on life-affirming and life-giving projects and relations. See, that's how we can rethink leadership and make positive impact in the world together. Thank you.